Greetings legends and welcome back to Apex Updates. This video is a ranking of all 8 legends that are currently in Apex Legends. Now before I get into this, I want to remind everyone that this is just my opinion. This is the ranking that I came to with my own personal experience of playing the game. If you don't agree with my ranking, I don't mind if you go into the comments and tell me your ranking. I'm actually quite interested to see what other people think of my list and see if you agree with it and see why you don't agree with it, where you'd put different characters and why. So let's get into it. So number 8 in the list, the very bottom of the barrel of legends. This is the only legend that I'd actually consider bad, unfortunately. This is the legend that thematically talks to me most, the one that I wanted to enjoy most, but unfortunately they turned out not that good. So you probably know by now who I'm talking about. It's Caustic.
I don't concern myself with the ambitions of insects.
He just has so many downsides. Like the fact that his gas doesn't do that much damage to the enemies. The fact that his gas disorientates his own teammates. And the fact that if enemies just shoot the bottom of the canisters, they can just turn off his gas. So even if it was a threat to them, they can just turn it off. His ult's not too bad, but the problem there comes in the fact that his gas just does not do enough damage. So the fact that his active and his ult are based around his gas, which aren't strong enough, very much puts him really low on the list, and I'd say makes him the only bad character. His passive is alright, but since it's only you that can see them and not your teammates, that just means you're putting your teammates at a disadvantage so that you can see, while people like Bloodhound show your entire team. A very interesting thing with Caustic as well is the fact that he doesn't get damaged while in other Caustic's gas. So that's obviously a pro for a Caustic player, that they can rush other Caustics through their gas. But it's also a negative to Caustic players, because that means other Caustic players can rush through their gas. So I personally think he needs some tweaking, maybe make his gas better or just rework him in general, because I don't think he's all that strong, and that's why he's the bottom of the list. I think he's the only bad legend in the game. So number 7 is a character that I've never really got the terms with. It's a legend that I've never really enjoyed that much because they've just felt too sluggish. Obviously all legends have the same move speed, but this character's passive just makes them feel very sluggish. It's Gibraltar. At number 7. So their passive is that when they aim down sights, they put a shield up in front of them, and this can be helpful to block a few shots. But the problem comes when you're using things like a Peacekeeper. You never want to aim down sights unless you've got like a precision choke, but even then a lot of the times you just want to hip fire. So if you just want to stop and aim and wait a second until your shield pops up, that's just like really, it just breaks the flow of the combat and you have to stand still for a second, which makes it easier for you to be hit. The shield doesn't absorb that much damage. I think it's enough to make it okay, and I wouldn't want it to be too much, because then that's just not a fun mechanic to deal with, is Gibraltar's using their front shield. But I'm never in a situation where I want to stop in my place to aim, because that just makes me a really easy to hit target. When it comes to his active, I think it's pretty clunky as well, because you like throw it down and it stops you from shooting at them, and obviously it stops them from shooting at you as well, but it sets up the enemies to advance on you if you're not smart with it. It can be helpful when you're trying to pick up a down teammate for sure, but at that point I don't know, I feel like there's better characters for that, such as Lifeline and Bangalore. His active can be helpful for protecting your team against other Gibraltar's and Bangalore's ults, but overall I think his active and passive are not that strong. But when it comes to his ultimate, it can be extremely strong, especially if the final zone of the game is in a very open area. You can easily isolate the enemies with it. Or even if it's not in an open area and in an urban area, you can use your ultimate to funnel them into buildings so you can get them easier. Or just get a breather so you can heal up and revive your team and such. But overall, I don't think he's the best of characters. That's why I rank him at 7. He's still good. He's not bad like Caustic. Everyone in this list from now on is good, including Gibraltar. But I don't know. I feel like he could use a few tweaks to bring him up to standard. So when I was writing out my list, it felt really wrong to put this character at number 6, because out of 8, 6 seems very low. And this character is my main. This is the character I've played most, the character I enjoy most, so it just felt really weird putting them down so far on the list. This legend's great, and that's why I main them so much. They're just so damn fun to play, and they're very strong in many regards. So this legend I'm talking about is Mirage.
You got bamboozled. You better not come back to haunt me.
So some may be wondering why Mirage is so low down on the list. Well, let's start with his passive. His passive is good. Basically, whenever he goes down for 5 seconds, he puts an invincible copy of himself down that does some weird animation while he goes invisible and can crawl away. This is quite strong actually. If you want to get your friends to pick you up, you can sneak out, or it works best if you have a gold knockdown shield so you can get yourself back up. He is the best character having a knockdown shield. But overall, compared to most passives in the game, this is quite weak because it only works when you're down, and you never want to be down. You're going to avoid to go down as much as you can. Of course, this does give you a little bit of an extra opportunity once you are down, which is helpful, but it's just missing something. I don't know. I don't think it's the best. Baked into his passive, but it's not written, is the fact that he can spawn decoys of himself when he's skydiving at the start of the game. Not that strong. A little helpful thing though to help him out if you want to trick people. I've never really found a great use for it, but it's nice to deter people from where you're landing, to throw a few decoys that way. So straight up, without a doubt, the best thing about Mirage is his active ability. The fact that he can send out a decoy of himself that looks kind of exactly like him and runs like a player. So it doesn't have huge tells that it's a decoy, apart from the fact that it's doing some stupid run at an enemy that would never work. But that's the thing, if you're that enemy, you see him running, you panic, you shoot, and then it reveals that location for a second to your team about where the person that shot is. That is so helpful, so strong. It helps you escape, it helps reveal where the enemies are, it helps distract enemies. Like if you're rushing someone, throw a decoy to the right, you run left. Sometimes they'll shoot at the decoy, and that gives you a great opportunity to hit them while they're not looking at you. It's a very strong tool, and I do enjoy it a lot. So here comes the sad thing about Mirage. The reason why he's so low on the list, the worst thing about Mirage, is that his ult is kind of just terrible. Like, when you use your ult, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, not the enemies. Basically, his ult is that he drops down like 5 to 8 copies of himself. I can't remember exactly how many it is. He drops down a bunch of copies to himself. They don't all run in different directions. They just stand in a circle, making it very obvious that they're not real Mirages. But Mirage himself goes invisible. In theory, that does sound kind of cool that he can just drop a bunch and run away. And since he's invisible, they can't see him. But the problem there is, one, the invisibility is not all that invisible. You can still see him as an outline quite clearly, so he can't really hide that well. So he's pretty obvious if you know what to look for. It's like a white outline. Number two, as I said before, the decoys are very obviously decoys because they stand in a circle, while his active is good because it just sends one out running, which that makes it look like a player. But most players don't stand in circles with copies of themselves, you know. And thirdly, the reason why his ult is so terrible, and this is by far the worst thing about his ult, is that he can't shoot, he can't reload, he can't use healing, and he cannot turn it off. So you can do nothing but run away when you activate your ult. You can't even go up behind someone, turn it off and shoot them. And you can't run away to heal up a bit. It puts you at such a disadvantage. You have to run away and then hide and then wait for it to run out and then use your healing or then reload. I think this is a huge flaw, and they should just have it where you can turn it off by hitting the ult button again, or turn it off by healing, or turn it off by shooting, or just turn it off by doing an action that you can't do normally, or just turn it off by pressing the button again, because I think it just makes it so weak the way it locks me in that state for so long, and most of the time enemies see me and start shooting at me anyway, so it just puts me in such a vulnerable position. I think his ult needs changed because it is by far the worst ult in the game. I think even worse than like Caustic, because at least Caustic does damage, not much damage, but it does damage, while Mirage's is kind of a huge disadvantage for himself. Most games when I play Mirage, I end up never using the ult because there's never a really good opportunity to use the ult. But overall, Mirage is still the funnest character to play because of his active, and his passive is quite fun as well. So coming in at number 5 is Bloodhound.
I am Bloodhounder. You can call me Bloodhound.
Bloodhound's not behind all the other legends because they're necessarily worse than the other legends. I just think they are not as strong in combat. I know that's kind of the same thing. I don't know. It's a weird system I've got going here. But remember, this is just my personal ranking of the ones I think are most powerful, in my opinion. If it was the ones I enjoy most, I think Mirage and Bloodhound might be near the top, bar the person who is at the top, because number 1 I think is the most fun and most powerful. But let's talk about Bloodhound. So Bloodhound's passive, the fact that they can see clues of enemies, like footprints or chests they've opened or doors they've opened, is extremely helpful. I've won games before because there was 3 squads left. My entire squad were still alive, another entire squad were still alive, but the other person was a solo. Obviously we didn't know this, but when we were camping up, I found clues as Bloodhound, and we went on a hunt on following the clues, and we found a solo hiding behind us. If we didn't have a Bloodhound there, the solo would have hid behind us until we got in combat, and then we would have been engaged from 2 different angles. Bloodhound is extremely helpful for information, and in many ways, Battle Royale is an information game. But the problem with Bloodhound's passive is it doesn't really do anything in combat. Now, of course, passives don't have to do stuff in combat, but I just wanted to mention that. Now, Bloodhound's active, I've heard people say it's not that good, and I've heard people say that it's way too good. I think it is a very, very strong active ability used correctly. It does have a very short range, but you should only use it when you rather know that enemies are nearby or you suspect that enemies are nearby and want to find out. I often use it when I find clues that have been set there very recently and I'm scared to go in a building, or during combat I'm about to rush and I want to see whereabout the enemies are in the building. This ability also gives information to your team because it shows exactly where they are, which is extremely powerful, and I think this is part of Caustic's shortcomings since it doesn't show his team. But overall, Bloodhound is an insanely good character. Their kit is very strong, but I'm not saying they're bad by putting them in the latter half of this list. I'm just saying the next 4 I've got on this list are just that crazy good. And obviously, Bloodhound's ultimate is very powerful as well. The fact that you can see through caustic gas and Bangalore smoke is extremely powerful. Pairing a Bloodhound and a Bangalore is godsend, a match made in heaven. And let's not even talk about the movement speed, that is crazy. Pop that and run in with a Peacekeeper or an Eva 8 or a Mastiff, and you've got yourself a good few kills there. Overall, Bloodhound is a very strong character. If you like the playstyle, I definitely recommend you try them out. But I personally just think they're not quite as good as these next few. Now, honestly, from here on out, I think all the next 4 characters have their own potential to be number 1 on the list. But as this is my personal opinion, this is what I feel with the characters and what I personally think their power level is, because I don't think that there is a definitive this character is always better than this character in every situation out of these 4. So let's go straight into it. Number 4 is Pathfinder.
Hey, that's me.
I know a lot of people are not going to be happy with him being at number 4, considering he's got his own dedicated fan base, and he should. He is crazy the stuff he can pull off. His grappling hook is so crazy good and opens up so many good and enjoyable plays. But let's start where I've started with the rest of them. They're passive. So Pathfinder's passive, I think, isn't the best for early game. Doesn't need to be though, but I think it is insanely powerful for endgame, because knowing where the zone's going to be for the last few circles is so helpful, because you can set up there instead of just hoping that you'll get lucky and get the zone over you. This time you can actually decide if you want to be in the zone, which most of the times you do, which is so unbelievably helpful and has helped me win multiple games. So everyone obviously knows about his active ability. It can pull off some crazy stuff. It can get you some great positions in a fight. It can help you flank so helpfully. It is an incredible ability that gives you so much mobility in a fight. It is the best mobility ability in the game, without a doubt. And with all that said, even his ult is good. His ult recharges very quickly, which is good because it's not all that powerful. It helps your team reposition in a fight, potentially, if you can use it correctly, or it can help you catch up with the zone, or just get in a better position generally, or help your entire team flank someone. It is so good to help your entire team move. Such a helpful support ability. He is such a strong character, very good for team play, and very good for your own silly fun plays. I recommend anyone that likes those big play moments, Pathfinder might be your guy. So on the number 3 is the Edgelord herself, Wraith.
Maybe in another time or space, you killed me, but not this one.
So starting with her passive is quite interesting. I've had a few people tell me that they don't really understand it. Basically, it's when someone aims at you, you can hear Wraith say in her own head, oh, there's someone aiming at you, or hey, there's a trap nearby if the enemies have a caustic and there's a trap nearby. Now keep in mind, your team cannot hear your character say this, but if you press the button prompt on screen that says warn teammate, Wraith will say, oh, there's a sniper nearby maybe, or they've got traps nearby, which is very helpful. Just remember to press that if needed, but if they just start shooting at you, I don't think it's not necessary. Now this can be very helpful because it can help you avoid that just getting shot straight out. You could just be running with your friends to get to the next zone, and then you get the warning and you're like, crap guys, watch out, we've got a sniper, and then you activate your active. And the active is very powerful because it makes you go almost invisible, although you do have a blue line following you, so people can follow you if they're chasing you, but in the heat of combat it can be helpful as an escape. A downside is that you cannot see the enemies when you're in this mode, but the biggest upside of it all, the thing that makes this worth it, is that you are invincible. So pairing with the passive, you hear someone's aiming at you, pop that, they can't hit you, you get somewhere and hide, get ready for the fight. This is great for dodging Bangalore and Gibraltar ults. It is great for dodging damage when you're just about to die in general. It's a great escape, and it's great paired with her ult. And her ult is that she sets up a portal. When you activate it, it sets down the first point, and when you reactivate it, it sets down the second point. Now this isn't as instant movement as Pathfinder's ultimate, where they put it down and they can shoot it across and they don't actually need to run themselves. This can be very helpful because if you want to go around corners and stuff, which you can't do with the zip line, she can do that. She's got a lot more options with this, but obviously that does come with the caveat that she has to actually go to that position. She does get also a speed boost while in the ult form, and she can deactivate the ult as well. Now if you want to get to a position and you want to reposition your team to a different building, say, something that a Pathfinder couldn't help you with if you're under fire, because you have to be exposed while in the zip line and it can't go from inside a building to inside another building. I think Wraith's your girl, because if she goes out there, she's getting shot at, she's faster, so she's a bit harder to hit, but she can also activate her ability while using her ultimate, which makes her invulnerable to damage, which is so helpful for getting that portal set up to the next position you want to move your team. So you're only putting one of your members at risk to transport your entire team, and it's not even that big of a risk because she does have a moment of invincibility during that run. A very powerful character that can go nuts in an amazing player's hands. So number 2. Me saying number 2 does reveal who's number 1, but nonetheless, number 2 is Bangalore.
Real men use iron sights? I use heavy artillery.
Now, Bangalore's passive is crazy good. It basically means whenever she's shot at, she runs faster, and it's not just like slightly bit faster, like 5 or 10%. She runs like Sonic did. She goes so fast. It's so helpful to get away from engages or rush someone, and while they're shooting at you, you get closer to them quicker with your shotgun, and you just wipe them out. And that can be improved with her ability, which is a smoke grenade. So she can put the smoke grenade in, start running, the enemies start firing randomly through the smoke grenade. You get faster, catch up with them quicker, save a digital threat, you can see them through the smoke. It's just crazy the amount of stuff she can do. She's so strong, and her smoke has 2 charges as well, and not that bad of a cooldown, and then works well with digital threat and with Bloodhound's ultimate. And obviously the speed she gets from her passive is crazy. Her ultimate is alright. It's not the most flashy thing, but it's good aerial denial. I very rarely do damage with it or get kills, but it does stop enemies from going that area. You can push people in the buildings or just away from your general area if you need to heal up or need a breather, or say it's a very small zone left, so you ult it. They don't have much room to move. It's very strong zone control. She's overall an extremely strong legend, and I haven't really got too much to say apart from, if you haven't already, give her a try. She is crazy good. So you already know it. Coming in at number 1 is Lifeline. Lifeline is crazy. I cannot express how very, very, very powerful she is. 3 varies. Her passive alone is probably the best passive in the game. Her passive makes it so when she's reviving people, she puts a shield in front of her that can't be broken, so the enemies have to rush her or attack her from behind to stop the revive. She also revives quicker. Now that's a good passive, but that's not all the passive is. The passive also means she takes consumables faster, so she can use her shield and her healing faster. I don't believe it works on ultimate accelerants faster, but if it did, that'd be good, because she uses a lot of ultimate accelerator. So her passive alone is crazy. Like, it's basically like she has a legendary backpack on her at all times almost. I don't think it is nearly as quick as that, but it does stack with the legendary backpack, so that is very powerful. So her active ability is that she puts down a little drone, and any teammates that stand next to the drone get healed. It's not one person at a time, like I've heard a few people say. Your entire team can crowd around it and get healed. This can happen during combat, which is very good, and it can just help save your team some syringes and medkits while outside of a fight. Now, you do need to be mindful that enemies can also use this drone, so don't drop it and then leave when there's enemies coming up behind you, because then they could use it to help themselves up. So you just need to be mindful for that, but it doesn't happen all too often. So part of why she's amazing is her ultimate. The reason there's countless memes about giving her ultimate accelerant, because her ult is crazy good. I believe it has the longest cooldown of every ult, and rightfully so, because basically she drops down a care package filled with high tier loot, so you're guaranteed purples or higher, outside of the consumable obviously, but that can still be Phoenix kit or med kit. The amount of times I've had legendaries from this is crazy. The amount of times it has helped me has been every time I've used it almost. You can use it as cover or as help to get on top of something. It is great in the last zone if there's no buildings in it, because then you can drop down cover. It is great in combat, so you can drop it and then maybe pick up a purple shield. Say your whole team's got purple and legendaries. You can pick up a purple shield as a quick refill in the middle of combat, and say if your team was very unlucky, this is luck protection. So she comes with her amazing passive, her great active ability, and her luck protective ultimate ability, which also has combat purpose and just helps equip your team overall. She is crazy good. So that pretty much wraps up this list. Thanks for watching it. If you don't agree with my list, go into the comments and say maybe what you'd change. Maybe you'd put Bangalore above Lifeline, say, or maybe you think Caustic is the best or just doesn't deserve as much hate as I give him, because personally I think he's pretty terrible. But if you can convince me otherwise, I'd love to, because I want every legend in this game to be great. But anyway, thank you for watching. Like it if you liked it, sub if you want more, and if you want to keep up to date in Apex news. And if there's anything about my content you do not like, please go in the comments and tell me so I can improve my content. Thanks for watching, catch you in the next one.